Ari, can you hear me? Travis, can you hear me?
Good day, Miroslav. How are you?
Oh, good day, fellas. How's it going?
All good here. How is your day?
Good day, evening. Uh, Trav, can you hear us?
I can hear you loud and clear. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, good, good. Really excited for another one.
Likewise. No, it's been a little bit since I was able to join you guys, so looking forward to getting back in the mix. This is going to be a good one too. Really excited.
So yeah, we can get things going. Um, to begin, this is actually our regular Twitter Space show. For those who don't know, it's called Investing with Friends. And today we actually have some special guests joining us from the Collector team. So what do they do? They deal with real world collectibles and tie that into the world of Web3. We'll learn a bit more about how they do that today, and in particular, we will learn about more about their platform, which enables people to digitize their collections, trade them with others, and even collateralize assets for loans, all without the risk and inefficiencies which plague traditional collectible marketplaces. I'd like to just caveat for myself, and Travis and Marco can maybe speak on their experience, but I'm fairly how should I put it? Fairly new to the whole collectible space. I myself haven't yet collected, and I say yet because I'm definitely interested to do so at some point. So really excited to learn about the space that you guys are operating in. And for those who are tuning in, we actually have Tuomas and Mickey joining in from the Collector team, and we can get straight into it. Welcome, fellas. How you doing?
Doing really well. Thanks so much for having us on your Twitter space. I mean, it's a real pleasure to have the opportunity to meet you guys and discuss our project and get the word out on what we're building.
Yeah, absolutely. Mickey mentioned he's tuning in from UK, and Tuomas, yourself, where are you calling from?
I'm based in the San Francisco Bay Area, so we are truly a global company.
Awesome. And yeah, just for interest, do you have any other team members based elsewhere in that sense?
So we have a couple here in the Bay Area. Our CTO, Dax, he's in Los Angeles. Mickey's in UK. Our excellent content writer is in Australia. And so we truly span the world. You know, it's kind of interesting to match everybody up in time zones and that kind of stuff. But we manage. You know, technology is really helpful in this. So it's been a wild ride.
Absolutely. So actually, for those who are probably just tuned in or have seen us promote this Twitter space, we gave a couple of buzzwords in the title, like bridging real world collectibles and Web3. How about you guys tell us what exactly this means, and particularly in relation to Collector, and what it is that you guys are doing?
Sure. I think blockchain, you've seen an explosion of technology and you've seen an explosion of ideas. And a lot of that's, solidified in code and within kind of the crypto ecosystem. And, for a long time, the promise of blockchain was to build a tech stack that would enable solving real world problems and doing things in the solving inefficiencies that plague people out there, and blockchain is going to be our savior. And so I think we're now on the cusp of taking all of these great technologies and all of these great ideas that people in the crypto space have had for a decade now, and then finally applying them to solving real world problems. And I think this is going to be the next wave of innovation and the next wave of value generation that happens in blockchain. So, when we talk about bridging real world assets, that's a very broad term, but for us to start, and we have a lot of ideas on what we're going to do next, but to start, we want to enable people to manage, trade, and have additional utility with their collectible assets on the blockchain. And so the bridge is basically taking your physical asset, representing the ownership of that asset on the blockchain. And then once that happens, then you have all of the great technology that the crypto developers have built over the last decade to apply to that digital asset once it exists on the blockchain. So, the idea of composability, the idea of decentralization are all in our thoughts every day onto how we can apply the great things that come from blockchain onto physical assets. And I'm happy to dig in there as much as you'd like. It's a fascinating topic.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we jump into it at depth, given the fact that you guys are doxxed, which I think is always like a great thing in crypto, it would be great to hear from both of you a bit about your backgrounds, expertise, and essentially how it is that you got into all of this.
Yeah. Mickey, you want to go first?
Yeah. So I'll take it right from the bottom. So I actually used to be an ECNI control systems engineer on a nuclear power plant, working with like nuclear reactors and fusion reactors and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool. Crypto always was something that I wanted to get into. I've always been pretty good with marketing. So I put myself on a few different marketing courses, went to university in my local city, and really just started taking it from there. My first project that I started working at was in the Polkadot ecosystem. I went from being a marketing manager to a chief marketing officer in the space of about 6 months. I was really, really hungry to obviously climb that ladder. And since then, I haven't really looked back. I mean, when you do a good job at one project, you just sort of like start getting loads of job offers from everywhere else, especially in a bull run. Everyone wants that success. So I'm quite passionate about what I do. I mean, there isn't really a sector that I haven't worked in regards to like NFTs, DeFi, GameFi. Collector's quite unique in what we're bringing to the table in terms of RealFi. So I don't know if you guys are quite familiar with RealFi, like a project that is using blockchain technology to solve real world problems. And that's basically what we're doing here. So I don't know how many of you guys are collectors. I'm a new collector myself, but even though I'm new, I've attained quite a large collection of various different cards, ranging from Pokemon, Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh. So what my understanding is that where can we go to buy these cards right now, right? And what Collector's doing is creating a safe haven for people like me, new collectors and old collectors, to be able to go to one single platform and buy an item with trust, and also display their amazing collection in a digital format, which is so much easier than having to scroll through pages of binary folders and stuff like that. So that's me, and that's why I'm really, really excited about being a part of Collector.
Thanks, Mickey. I'm Twom. I'm the CEO and founder of Collector. My background, I started out in physics for my undergrad. I was undergrad at Caltech back in the late 90s. And, I got introed to entrepreneurism when a friend of mine figured out a way to multiply non-sparse matrices over a cluster of computers. And what that basically means, it's a way to simulate the solutions to differential equations on a cluster. And so it was a really cool project. We raised some VC while we were still undergrads. And we were, during the tech bubble, it collapsed around us, but we were fortunate enough to spin the company into another company that was actually developing optoelectronics devices, and they used our software to design a whole suite of devices. And that company eventually got bought by Cisco Systems for $660 million. So even though we weren't responsible at all for the vast wealth that was generated there, it was really cool to be on the ground floor and to really make a dent in solving some of these fascinating problems. So at that point I decided academia wasn't for me. So I went and I have a few patents in loudspeaker technology. So the boom boxes you put on your shelf. I was designing and building custom high-end loudspeakers for wealthy people in the Beverly Hills, Los Angeles area. I did that for a few years. I loved the job, but I really didn't like the 2 a.m. phone calls from from wealthy drunk people asking me how to get their DVD player to work. So that was kind of a turnoff for me, and I realized I didn't want to do that for the rest of my life. So I went to business school. While in business school, I continued some of my entrepreneurial work. I helped a group of professors at UCLA spin out a biotech company. I was the first employee. I helped raise a $18 million Series A round of funding, which included notable VCs like Kleiner Perkins. And then I was the chief business officer and on the board of directors of that company for the next 10 years. We raised a little bit over $70 million and brought our technology into a few phase 2 clinical studies. And right now it's on the shelf at a European pharma company. We're hoping that, with this renewed interest in infectious disease due to COVID, that once people are looking for the next infectious disease project to work on, they'll push our tech forwards. But, it was a great experience. I've also worked on a few other biotech projects, a few other high-tech projects. And overall, I've raised a little bit over $100 million for projects I've either founded or co-founded in the last 25 or so years. Collector is a project stemming from some of my frustration in interacting with my hobby. I'm a big Magic the Gathering player. I was a semi-professional player in the late 90s, mid-late 90s. I was also a writer for Scry magazine, which some of you might remember as a in the local card shops, it had a price guide, it had, deck articles in there. So I wrote for that magazine during high school. But I had a massive collection of cards and, I sold a lot of it to pay for undergrad. But the cards that I had left, they accumulated on my shelf. They increased in value over time. And then, all of a sudden, here you are 20 years older and you look around and you say, what the hell am I going to do with all of these cards that are sitting behind me? So I started to get into, all right, let's see if I could sell these on eBay. Let's see if I can, what kind of deals I can do individually and that kind of stuff. And literally, when you have 10,000 unique assets that have a value of over $100 each sitting behind you, it's not just trading a few cards. This is a multi-year process that I have to go through to get liquidity on my collection, or even to understand what's in my collection. So that's kind of the frustration that I had with trying to solve a problem here. And, because of my background in high tech and software, I got into Bitcoin in 2013. I started mining on my desktop, got into Ethereum 2016, 2017, started mining that, still validating right now. Actually, one of our team members on the call right now has a validator node, a full ETH node set up at his house that's validating our ETH on the Beacon chain, so it's pretty cool. But I just love the technology. I loved what it meant for the world, and given this frustration with collectibles, I started to go down the road to say, well, can blockchain help us figure this out? Can we do something here to eliminate a lot of the friction? The biggest friction that I see in terms of trading cards is just the amount of time it takes to list an item for sale. So I did an experiment about a year ago. I took a card that was worth a few $100s, so it's not something you're just going to throw away. And I timed myself. I said, how long is it going to take me to list this on eBay, to sell it, to package it, to ship it, do all the stuff I need to do? And it took 10 separate steps, and it took 2 hours to do that. And me as an executive, I do a lot of consulting, I do a lot of things like that. My hourly rate is not small. Right. So it was literally more valuable for me to just spend my time consulting than it would be to sell anything worth less than $500, let's say. But does that mean I should go and throw out this huge collection of cards? No. So what do I do? Right. The other issue, and I don't want to rag on eBay too much. I think they've done a phenomenal job connecting the global collectibles community. So, kudos to them for that. I think eBay has, on the other hand, has failed to keep up with innovation. And meaning that, people have seen the eBay platform as an opportunity to go in and get liquidity, but that also brings a lot of bad actors. And we see that with any innovation, right? You get people in there who are going to try to figure out ways to defraud others and defraud the system. And for decades, eBay basically ignored that. And so sometimes I would sell a card to somebody on eBay. The person who bought it would turn around and say, "No, you didn't ship me the card that I bought. You shipped me this other card that's worth 1/10 the amount." And they'd ship me back that other card so that when eBay came knocking, they'd say, "Okay, here's my receipt. Here's the shipment back. Here's a picture of the card that I got." And they make this whole case, and then they walk away with hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars. And so that's a big issue, and there's nothing there that can prevent that from happening. And then, obviously eBay charges about 13% transaction fees. So if you're dealing with buying and selling cards, if you're trying to have high frequency trading, if you're doing a lot of that kind of stuff, selling a card on eBay is not only time intensive, it's also costly. And so if you want to get liquidity, if you want to trade things, it's not really the best place to do it. So, I felt that blockchain, being able to represent these assets in a digital format, being able to use a decentralized marketplace to trade them, being able to drop 13% fees down to 2%, being able to drop 2 hours of time down to 2 minutes. The combination of these things, I think, are going to be transformative to how people interact with their collections going forwards. And we're hoping to build the digital primitives on the blockchain to enable that to happen. So that's kind of my intro spiel. Appreciate the time.
Yeah, no, awesome intro spiels by both of you. Super interesting backgrounds for one, like super diverse cross-industry expertise. Serial, we love serial entrepreneurs here, so that's really great to hear. Actually, regarding the fact that you saw a problem and instead of just looking elsewhere, you decided to tackle it head on. So really admire that. It would be great actually to better understand what exactly or how exactly your platform goes about executing this bridge between the physical and this blockchain world, right? So that's kind of like, I think the first area that would be super interesting to understand, like the process that goes on. And then beyond that, if we have a bit of time, I think it would also be exciting to hear about this collectibles market as a whole, for those who haven't actually invested in this space yet. But let's get to that later.
Absolutely, thank you. So the way our platform works is we're going to start off with graded cards. So these are cards that have been graded by third parties that have been doing grading for 40 years. They're highly trusted in the industry, and I'm talking about companies like PSA and CCG and Beckett. These guys have been grading sports cards and game cards for the last 30, 40 years. So once that card's been graded, there's a number of ways it could be deposited into the vault, right? So maybe you have the card in your own possession so you could ship it in. Maybe you have a card that you need to get graded, so you could send it to the grading company, instruct the grading company to then send it directly to the vault. Maybe you buy a card on eBay, and instead of having it shipped to you, you have the seller ship the card to the vault, right? And so there's a number of ways you actually get the physical asset into the vault. Not included in any of those ways are shipping it to us. We don't want to touch your cards because we're a brand new company. We're blockchain. I think there's some implied risk there, and so we're trying to create a user experience that is really just connecting users with trusted, highly reputable third-party entities. So, if you're a collector, you're going to send your cards directly to a vault that's been in business for the last 20 years, that has over $1 billion worth of collectible cards already, within their walls. Once the card is at the vault, the owner of the vault is going to authenticate the card, so they're going to inspect it to make sure it's legitimate. Then they're going to do high-resolution scans of the card, right? And all of these pieces of data are going to be part of the metadata portfolio that's going to follow the card around on the blockchain. And once the card is safely stored and secured in the vault, the owner of the card will get an email and basically say, okay, your NFT is ready to mint. You come back to our front end, you make sure all of the information is accurate, and then you click Mint PNFT. And PNFT is a physically backed NFT. It takes about 30 seconds for that confirmation to happen on the Solana blockchain, and then you have the PNFT in your wallet. And you could immediately go to a marketplace to trade it. You could immediately go to a composable app like a lending app, deposit your NFT in it, and borrow money against it. There's so many things that once you have that in your digital wallet, you can now gain access to that you couldn't have access to otherwise. And so that's how the on-ramp works. In terms of pulling the card out and what the value of the card is, at any time you could come to our front end, and it works just like a shopping cart. You make a few clicks. You say, I want card number 1, 2, and 3. And then you say, I want to ship me the cards. And then it'll go to a kind of a order checkout. We're going to charge you for shipping and insurance. And we're going to charge you a withdrawal fee from the vault, which is pretty low. It's 2%. And then once you pay the shipping, insurance, and the withdrawal fee, we'll ship you the card anywhere in the world. And so in terms of total fees, we don't charge anything for depositing the card in the vault. We don't charge anything for listing on a marketplace. The marketplace has a transaction fee. It's about 2%. And then there's a withdrawal fee about 2%. And overall, that full round trip, let's say you buy an item and then you bring it out and you ship it to you, that's a 4% transaction fee, let's say. And, on eBay, that's much less than the 13%. And if you're doing an international transaction, PayPal is going to charge you 4.5%. So if you're looking at an international transaction on eBay and PayPal, you're paying 17.5% for that trade versus 4% on our platform. And that's, I think that's the big difference with in terms of the value proposition.
Yeah, super interesting. And this is definitely something that I was looking forward to in terms of this whole NFT movement. The fact that just going beyond the JPEGs, which we love so dearly, right? The fact that we're now tying them to real world assets in these unique ways, if I can say. It's I'm really bullish on that. So just so we understand a bit better in terms of where your platform is at now. Do you already have users utilizing it? Are there already cards that are being stored through you and NFTs being issued? Where do you guys stand?
Yeah, so where we are right now, we are in a closed beta. We have a number of beta testers, and I'm going to give a shout out to our beta testers listening on Discord. Thanks so much for your efforts in helping us clean the platform up. And we're on Solana DevNet, so we're working with hypothetical cards and hypothetical NFTs right now. The platform's ready to launch. We were going to launch, recently, but as you guys know, there's a lot of FUD in the NFT marketplace right now about royalties and around that kind of stuff. And we want to make sure that when we do launch, that we're not competing with a lot of that negative sentiment that's out there right now with NFTs. So we're probably going to be able to launch here. We're planning on doing that in the next few weeks. I'd say 2 to 3 weeks from now. But if anybody's interested, please just shoot me a DM on Twitter. It's at Twom Holmberg. Join our Discord. You could find our Discord server on our website. Just come in and just say, hey, I'd love to check out the beta, and we'd love to get you on to get your feedback if you are a collector and are interested.
Awesome. So regarding this this whole royalty situation, and actually in with respect to your let's say 2-week timeline, do you anticipate a better market condition, or is it just a matter of the fact that you take it as it is, and given that you're already ready, what's the idea, let's say, behind that 2-week launch date?
Sure. So I mean, as you know, there's different levels of pain. I guess you have to go to acceptance. You have to go through, anger. All these different levels, and we just want the community to have a moment to really consider and think about some of this news around royalties. The fact of the matter is that our long-term plan is, or even medium-term plan is, always to have our own marketplace. And so we'll be able to charge transaction fees on our marketplace. We're not going to rely on royalties for our revenue model. The reason why we think people will want to trade on our marketplace is because, one, this whole platform is eventually going to be owned by the community. We're planning to, decentralize our governance. Two, users of the platform trading on our marketplace, they're going to receive our incentive token. So you'll receive token. You'll get your carrot for bringing your business to us, and then finally being able to have a customized user experience that is focused exactly on the asset class that you want is important, right? So you can go to Hades Swap or something, and you can go and probably see our NFTs in there after we launch. But it's going to be tough to figure that out. How does Hades Swap know to differentiate between Pokemon and basketball and vintage basketball and baseball, and what do the different grading companies mean? Are they really going to go in and create a custom user interface for our platform, and then compete with us against our token incentive model and all this kind of stuff? I think that'll be far-fetched. There's nothing really in that for them. So we believe by providing a good user experience, by providing incentive and ownership in the community and the platform, and being able to provide a service that is going to solve extreme real-world friction, is going to bring people to our platform. And
yeah, so
I was going to
sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, so just to expand on what Thomas was saying there. So one of the questions that obviously we always get faced with is, how do you feel about current market conditions? So if you can remember me describing how Collector was a bit of a unique project. So we're not a DeFi protocol. We're not a traditional digital picture graphic NFT marketplace. We are bridging the gap with a $700 billion market that's already there with Web3. So our user base is a thriving market. We're not trying to target the audience that's in crypto unless they're already buying cards off eBay. So although the crypto market might be down, the trading market isn't.
Yeah, great point, Mickey. This is why the user experience is so important, right? How do we? There's 1.25 million NFT collectors out there. There's 100 million card collectors out there. So how do we bring that 98.75 million additional users onto the blockchain to be able to trade this? And that's by providing a stellar user experience, and that's by solving the friction and enable and realize our use case and provide them utility.
Yeah, it will be really interesting, I guess, for you guys internally to see where that initial traction is once you guys launch after like the first period of time, whether it's more of those NFT native people utilizing your platform, or more of those let's call them like Web 2 or non Web 3 individuals, but who are avid collectors. Super interesting to know where that traction lies in the first term, and then obviously, like I do believe later on it all just mixes, and as those traditional collectors join the space. Trav, did you have a question? I saw you had a hand up.
Yeah, really quick question here. First of all, really appreciating where the conversation's going. This is all fascinating stuff here. Just you kind of touched on it already, but with besides market condition, there's the whole stigma behind Web3 and just kind of crypto in general, NFTs and all of that does exist in the community. For people that might be resistant, for current collectors, actually, let's start there. Current collectors who have been in the Web 2 space for a while now, who may have been influenced by the negative stigma that exists. Do you guys have any kind of strategies to help reach and kind of convince that population on how it could be beneficial to them to jump on the Web3 train?
Yeah. So first of all, our general existence is one of them. What we're doing is one of them. Secondly, we're running two separate marketing campaigns. So we've got the usual Web3 blockchain marketing campaign to reach out to the audience of collectors that's already in the space. But then we're also going to be running a traditional marketing campaign. Now, let me tell you this, right? So one of the things that we are going to be doing here at Collector is for people that want to just get their sort of like toes wet in this space, they are going to be able to come to our platform, buy a card, and have it shipped to their address. So they don't even need to get involved in the Web3 side of the project. And I suppose it's a process, right? So say if you get a lot of traders out there, people just buy cards to basically trade them and make money off it. People do it for a living. They might buy a few cards off our platform, realize, that, hey, this is kind of a safe place, it's a trusted site, and then they might go, oh god, look at these benefits that I could get from doing this or doing that, or the collateralized lending, or the digital marketplace, or the showcase and stuff like that. And there's some crazy things that we're going to be doing here. I don't want to say too much, but it's a process, and we've put things in that process to ensure that we get that conversion.
Yeah, and adding to what Mickey said, I think it all starts with education. There's a lot of people out there that are collectors that have read a lot of negative headlines and press about Web3 and blockchain, and they've kind of absorbed that, and it's kind of made them reluctant or resistant to interact with crypto. But once you solve a problem that they have, once you go and say, okay, you have a card that's worth $20,000, right? Would you like to try listing it on our marketplace? Would you just rather do it on eBay and pay $2,500 in transaction fees? And once you give them an opportunity to keep an extra $2,000 in their pocket, they might say, okay, I'm not going to do it with this $20,000 card. That's a bit risky, but let's check it out. Maybe I'll just send in this $200 card. Let's see what the experience is like. I'm willing to do that because if my livelihood, if my hobby, relies on this, I'm willing to give it a shot. So, I think there's so many people out there that haven't, taken the jump to crypto because crypto has not solved something for them, right? Crypto was easy for me to get interested in because I credit my card collecting background, right? I was fascinated with little pieces of cardboard with some paint on it that had thousands of dollars of value. How different is that than a piece of code with a PFP JPEG attached to it? How different is that than a piece of code that says, oh, you have this many Bitcoins? I was able to make that jump, right? So I think collectors out there are actually already 1 foot into blockchain, and they just haven't done it yet because blockchain has not solved a real problem for them. So I could imagine, and maybe in my wildest dreams, I hope not, but I could imagine you get a few people coming in to test it out. You get a few influencers in there who know the founders, know what we're doing, have confidence, and are able to go in and educate people out there. And once you start having some transactional volume on the marketplace, once people start seeing that, my goodness, why am I going to give $2,000 extra to eBay? Why am I going to deal with these people defrauding me all the time? Let's try this out. And once you get a few of those people doing that, then I think the floodgates are going to open because people will be able to come onto our platform. They'll be able to sell and buy cards in a much better user experience than they've ever been able to do. And, they're going to be educated. They're going to have their friends joining. They're going to be able to interact on social media and show their collections, show, so many new things that they can do. And it's just this question of education and this question of trust.
Awesome. Really well thought out answer, guys. And that makes a ton of sense. Yeah, really excited to consider what the possibilities are from this.
Yeah, and just out of curiosity, I mean, I'm I'm trying to really put myself in the situation of in the position of a like a long-term collector who has no experience with blockchain, and really trying to, I suppose, see where the barriers to entry would be. It sounds to me like you do have a better solution, right? And so, uh, what would you say to those people who simply uh, aren't sure yet? Will you have? I guess one big part of it, to Mickey's point around the fact that I think it's good you're doing two different streams of marketing, right? You'll have for the Web3 audience and the non Web3 native. How do you think you will get that message across to them, and what is that message? Is it around custody? I suppose not, because you already have like a strong insured solution. What do you think is what will be stopping these people who simply don't have experience with blockchain?
I think that the first thing that's going to stop them is, when we launch, we're not going to have our hosted wallet solution. That's something that's on a roadmap that'll come a few months later. I think the first thing that'll stop somebody is saying, okay, I need to download the Phantom wallet or the Brave browser, and I need to figure out how this whole wallet thing works. I've never done that before. And then they're going to come to our platform and they're going to say, okay, I can mint my cards for basically free. We're not going to require people to spend gas to mint NFTs. We'll pay for the gas on our end. But then if they want to buy something, right, then they're going to have to say, okay, I need to figure out a Coinbase or an FTX or a Binance. I have to put my money in there and I have to get it in. This all seems a lot of education, a lot of things I need to learn. So, I think that's going to be one of the biggest impediments is just the overall kind of on-ramp to Web3 that people are going to have to overcome. I think one of the ways that we overcome that is for example, wouldn't it be cool, people do these box breaks all the time on Twitch and on stream and stuff. Wouldn't it be cool to say, okay, let's sponsor some box breaks. That's not too expensive. And then the winners of those box breaks, instead of getting the actual card shipped to them, they say, okay, here, you have this NFT. You can go and claim this NFT, and then you can just ship the NFT to you. But, you give them free stuff. You give them a $40, $50 card. Then all of a sudden, they have to figure out, well, how do I get this card out? And then they go through the steps. And they're not putting any of their own capital at risk. They're just putting their time and their energy into it. And I think there's going to be a lot of people out there that kind of say, well, I've always been interested in getting into Web3. I've just never had a reason. Now they gave me a $40, $50 card. That's pretty cool. I saw the card open on stream. I want to get it. And so what do I have to do? And we're going to provide the education. We're going to have instructional videos, instructional documents. We're going to partner with some wallets and some web browsers and stuff to support that as well. We're going to have videos of influencers using the platform, showing people how to do it. And these things are all in the works right now. So, we're going to bring a full court press. We're probably going to do, a ton of work that, Phantom Wallet should be doing themselves. But, we actually have a carrot. We have a very strong carrot to get people on because we'll give them free stuff. Obviously not crazy amounts, but we'll give them free stuff, get them excited. And we're also going to solve financial, time, logistical challenges that these people face every single day, and that's a big carrot for a lot of people. And we've obviously been speaking to whales, and we've been speaking to a lot of people, and you get a lot that say, well, I'm never going to touch blockchain, and you say, why? I don't want to. That that those people are going to be hard conversions. But then you get people that say, well, I might want to do it. I don't know. My business is working pretty well. And then you say, well, how much do you spend on transaction fees on eBay? They go, oh, I spend about 8%. I'm a high volume dealer. I get a special deal from eBay. And we go, okay, special deal from eBay at 8%. That's a lot more than, just going flat with us at 2%, right? For somebody that's doing $20 million worth of card trades per year at 8%, that's $1.6 million in transaction fees. That could have been $400,000 in transaction fees. That's a whole additional family worth of income for a lot of these people, and that makes a big difference. So I think we're going to get the people that suffer the most in the current ecosystem. We'll be able to get them to try it out. And once these people try it out, we have confidence the rest will follow.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you said it right earlier. You definitely have a carrot, a strong carrot. And yeah, these barriers that we talk about are more so at a high level crypto mass adoption barriers, which some things we may or may not have influence over through education, but I think over time as well, these things will sort of become clearer, and people will dive into it more, I do believe. You mentioned actually, Tuam, a couple of times the fact that you might leverage influencers. I'm curious to hear now, like shifting gears a little bit. I myself have heard the past couple of years, not even many, like maybe a year and a half, this boom in cards. Is this true? Am I right in assuming that lately there has been a boom, or has it always been high value in this asset class? Let's say.
Yeah, great question. So people always talk about baseball cards and, finding a baseball card in the attic or their grandfather's collection or stuff like that. That's always been part of the lore out there for collectors, right? They go to a garage sale and they see a box of cards and they wonder if there's some treasure in there. What's happened in the collectible space is that you used to have pockets of collectors. You used to have small groups distributed around the world, and they interacted with their friends, they interacted with their relatives, their family members, their sports teams, and that kind of stuff. And it was limited, right? And about 10, 15 years ago, this social media phenomenon started happening. So you had people that let's say if you're in the middle of a forest somewhere in Germany and you have nobody to talk to, but you love collecting cards. How do you go and experience the community and the ecosystem with that? And the way you do it is you get on social media, you start to talk to people about what your collection looks like. You start to ask people about the cards they have. You say, well, oh man, I want to finish off my 1992 Yankees team, and you have the last card that I need. Can we set up a trade? You start to go to card shows and these kind of things. And, I think social media has really transformed the way collecting happens. And then, of course, once you get the communities on social media, those communities have their heroes. They have their superheroes that go in and talk about these cards at a high level. They get the alpha. They talk about the new players on teams that it might be worth buying the rookie cards for long-term investment. They talk about their love and their passion of the game and of the different things they're doing, and you empathize with that as a collector sitting there watching the stream. Even though you're just sitting there watching the TV, it's much more connected to you than it is if you were watching a crime drama or something on TV. And so this is why people do it, because they get to experience that sense of community. And with that, you then, of course, have people that are competitive. You have people that say, I want to have the best set possible. I want to have the most valuable cards. I want to do this. I want to do that. And, that kind of drags up the value of the whole thing. So social media, I think, is largely responsible for the phenomenal rise in asset values of these collectibles. And when I say phenomenal rise, if you look at the past 15 years, in certain categories of cards, thinking about like Pokemon, like first edition Pokemon, if you take a look at Magic the Gathering reserve list, if you take a look at some of the Hall of Fame rookie cards for sports stars like Michael Jordan and the Mickey Mantle cards that are going around everywhere, these cards have appreciated in value at approximately 50% year over year for the last 15 years. The only asset class that's done better is crypto. And so, these sports cards have far outpaced, not just sports, these collectible cards have far outpaced any type of, asset class that's traditional, like stocks and bonds and those types of securities. And I think people are starting to notice that. People like me, my collection used to be a fraction of what it was worth. And it didn't matter to me. I was collecting as a hobby. But like I said, when I look around now and I'm sitting in front of $1 million worth of cards, I say, holy shit, what am I going to do with this? Right? And you have people like me all throughout the world. And that's just adding fuel to the fire, because, now you have a lot of people that have this wealth that they're sitting on, and they're trying to learn about how to interact with it. So you have people like me that are now all of a sudden going to Twitch streams to learn about Magic the Gathering finance. Or you have people, tuning into Logan Paul to learn about Pokemon finance because they found a box of Pokemon cards in their attic. And this is all bringing this community even closer together. It's throwing fuel on the fire. And, let alone all that stuff would happen with the pandemic. I mean, the pandemic was just phenomenal because now all of a sudden everybody's sitting at home with nothing to do. And they say, oh, let's take a look at these cards that have gone up in value 500% in the last 10 years, right? So that's kind of my take on that. I'm excited. You could tell.
Yeah, absolutely. Super interesting and enthusiastic take. Before I get to one of my $1 million questions for you, Tuan, just a note to the audience: if anyone does have questions, feel free to request to speak, and we'll take them as we go. Just mentioning this now, so people can maybe prepare some questions or have a think. But regarding actually my next sort of area of interest, given that I'm not active in this card collectible space, for someone like me and maybe other audience members here, is there, if at all, is there a systematic way that we could enter the cards market, and solely from an investment standpoint, right? Putting aside maybe certain card collections that are nostalgic or ones that are of, let's say, subjective interest. Would there be a way that you would suggest, obviously not financial advice here, but that we could maybe enter, given the fact that it's, I'm sure, a wild market, like where to start? And just, I suppose a parallel with crypto would be when people talk about starting with Bitcoin and then checking out the other major blockchains, etc. Any thoughts on this? Any comments?
Yeah, I have a couple things to say. One, we're starting with cards because cards are low-hanging fruit, and we totally recognize. We're not trying to go out there and say, hey, you got to get into buying cards, right? It's really a passion and it's a hobby, right? And you don't go and tell people to get into a hobby. So we're starting with cards because there's significant friction there. There's significant need for a platform like ours. But once we establish the solution, once we build our ecosystem and platform, we're going to move into comics, we're going to move into coins, we're going to move into stamps. These are all similar asset classes. And then you say, okay, what if I'm not a collector of all those? We are eventually going to get into things like wine, collectible cars, supercars, and we're going to continue building up the value chain until we get to art and real estate. I mean, I view, what we're doing as a really, really early primitive in a global opportunity to transact real world assets on the blockchain. So we're called Collector. We're called it for a reason. We're trying to launch, we're getting things going. But I would not be surprised, 5-10 years from now, if people are trading, things that aren't collectible on our platform. Because we've established kind of the process to authenticate and validate, and all the shipping and logistics, the business model, the marketing, and the trust, right? These are kind of the core things you need to create a more generalized ecosystem. And so I would say, yeah, if you're not interested in cards, think about the implication that, if we are successful with cards, where can this go? What things in your life are important to you that you would want to be able to bring onto the blockchain? Maybe it's not cards. Maybe you want to, maybe you have an interest in buying, camping gear, right? Or whatever it is. These are all things that can be tokenized. And if we could figure out a way to do that in a cheap, efficient, highly flexible way, then, anything can be brought on. And, that's kind of the pie in the sky argument. In terms of other things you can do in terms of DApps that can be built on our platform. One fairly robust idea is to create investable indices. So let's say if you have $5,000 and I've, through my speech, have just convinced you that Pokemon is the best investment on the world. I'm not trying to do that, but let's say if I did, and now you have $5,000 and you say, man, I really need to get into these Pokemon before they go up another tenfold in value. Right now, the only thing you could do is go to your local store or go to eBay and buy some individual Pokemon cards and hope you buy the right ones. Hope you don't get a fraud. Hope you pay an appropriate price for the condition that you get. These are all hopes. What if instead, we had something like a DAO, and let's say this DAO had $100 million worth of Pokemon PNFTs in the DAO. So the DAO holds $100 million worth of digital ownership certificates of physical Pokemon cards that are authenticated and stored in a verifiable vault. And now you're able to buy $5,000 of that $100 million portfolio over a decentralized exchange, and you pay 0.3% transaction fee on that. Now that's an investable index of Pokemon. That's something you could buy a few grand worth of Pokemon and sit on for a long time, or you're waiting for the next set release and you're hoping that there's some hype around Pokemon, you buy it one day and you sell it the next day. So these are things that can be enabled by the blockchain that currently do not exist. And if they do exist, they are exclusive to private equity, accredited investors, high transaction fees, high management fee type situations. So instead of an index, maybe you even find somebody who is an expert at Pokemon and you have a managed fund. So like a mutual fund of Pokemon cards. These are all things that can be enabled by the blockchain. Certainly not investment advice, but there is demand out there for stuff like this, and assuming that we could get through some of the regulatory hurdles, and hopefully, we'll see some light at the end of that tunnel in terms of how to create these investable indices. These are things that will be built upon our blockchain primitives.
Wow. Yeah, like the fact that you're essentially targeting everything that can be tokenized is amazing. Because we're certainly starting from cards, and this conversation was rooted in that. However, it's the absolute I would say end goal, right? It's the meta, right? The fact that you're looking to do so much more, essentially everything, right? And I guess that
I was going to say we want to build the standard, and I don't think we have the expertise to do everything. Right? We don't have the expertise to do wine, cars, art, real estate, but we can build the platform, and we could bring those experts in, or we can sponsor hackathons for other projects to build on our platform, to use our primitives in all these ways. So we're not foolish enough to think we could do everything, but we want to establish a foothold here, and we want it to be open, composable, and let other people come and build with us.
Yeah. And that actually is quite a good segue into maybe like a concluding point, let's say, before we open for questions. In terms of taking those next steps forward, in order to achieve those milestones, what are those for you? Is it fundraising? Is it something else? Like how are you developing further? Let's say at this stage in the near to midterm.
Yeah, so you mentioned fundraising. Obviously, funding is the grease that helps everything move forward. So we've recently closed our seed round. We'll be sharing some PR on that in the next week or two. We're going to be opening up our private round of funding here in the near future. Obviously, if anybody's interested and they would like to talk to us, we'd love to talk to you. But funding isn't an obstacle, right? What we really want to do is build the community. We want to build the users, and we want to make sure that the platform we're presenting and that we're offering is solving the pain that we believe is out there. So we want to get as many people on our platform using it as we can. We want to learn from the community. We want everybody out there to give us your feedback and let us know what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong and how we can improve. Because we're in the end of the day, we're building this for the community. We're going to turn this all over to decentralized governance in a few years, hopefully. And this is going to be your space to trade tokenized items on the blockchain. That's our vision.
Amazing. That's awesome. Let's actually. I've done a fair bit of talking on my end, or rather question asking. And we've certainly heard a lot of interesting things. Let's open it up to the audience. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to request to speak. In the meantime, Trav, Marco, any follow-up questions? And yeah, go on, Trav.
Oh yeah, not so much a question, just kind of a statement after taking in all of this awesome information that you guys have shared with us today. I think one thing that I'm just super bullish on about your project is where to even begin with this idea. First of all, one thing that I've really been kind of sitting on real quick is the concept of it costing money to be poor in relative speaking wise. And the one thing that really attracted me to Web3 and the blockchain to begin with was the idea of making things, these wild concepts like venture clubs and being able to invest in these outrageous equities or any sort of investments, just making it more accessible for everyday people. Like sorry guys, just one quick second here. I'm just getting a phone call. I'm just going to cancel this. Yeah, just basically making things so much more accessible to the masses, to your retail investors and things like that. And I'm really appreciating what you guys are doing for the community as a whole. You're really bringing this amazing concept of basically bringing more opportunity to your average person. And yeah, I'm super bullish on that. So appreciate the work you guys are doing. Appreciate you guys spending your time with us today. And I'm certainly interested in following you guys and checking out your progress.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Tuam, you mentioned community. It's something that just comes to mind now. Any plans on going cross-chain? I mean, I know this is like now entering. We could talk about this for days, but just curious to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, absolutely. We are in the works to start building on an EVM compatible chain, and we would do that through a partnership on EVM, either a side chain or a layer 2, and then of course we would also build on ETH layer 1. And we wouldn't suggest that a large part of the platform should be on ETH layer 1, but we believe that there's a lot of financial depth on ETH layer 1 that would appreciate being able to have PNFTs there. So for example, let's say you have a whale that has $1 million worth of CryptoPunks and Bored Apes. They're not going to be very interested in owning some Pokemon cards on Solana as well. They'd want to be able to display everything and have everything kind of in the same wallet. And so we believe for high value items, high value whales, they will want to migrate their PNFTs over to ETH layer 1. And then we believe it would be foolish for us to assume that Solana and Rust is kind of the end all. We love the chain, we love the ecosystem and the developer community, but there's a ton of people out there building on Solidity. There's a ton of people out there building on Polygon and BNB and all of that, and we would want to make sure that those developers have the opportunity to build on top of our platform. So we're in a unique position because it's not like you could take a Bored Ape, burn the Bored Ape on Ethereum and remint it on Solana, and that the Solana Bored Ape will have any value, right? But you could do that with ours because you have a $500,000 card on Solana or a $10 card on Solana. You can burn the NFT on Solana and remint that same exact NFT on Polygon, and that ownership interest transfers, right? So in a true way, the asset is blockchain agnostic. And so, as we have demand for developer support, as we have demand for building decentralized apps on top of our platform, we're going to be very selective about making sure we can nurture these ecosystems on other blockchains as well. And in fact, we're already building that into our back end of the platform, and we're going to follow kind of a burn and mint philosophy to transfer the NFTs elsewhere. So if somebody wants to transfer an NFT from Solana to BNB, they'll be able to burn the NFT on Solana and remint it on BNB, just as easy you would any other thing. We're not going to rely on bridges.
Awesome. Really, really looking forward to seeing where this goes. As you mentioned, for those who are tuning in just now or in the latter end of this talk, in the beta phase, you said, right, on DevNet
Yeah,
currently, and in a couple of weeks launching, right?
we could launch anytime. We're basically just waiting for some of this FUD around NFTs to die down, so that when we release our great news and when we release our PR, it's when things are bad, people don't want to open up the news, right? You don't want to look at the headlines and all that kind of stuff. I'm super thrilled that Ethereum has been moving up yesterday and today. I think this could be a mini pump here going on. I'm excited that people are digesting the news around royalties and NFTs and that kind of stuff. It's probably not so much for the collectors of NFTs, but more for the creators, right? Like, these creators, they rely on these royalties to give them money to pay for rent or to buy food, and you have all this trading going on that are ignoring the royalties. So uh, it's kind of a damper on the ecosystem. So we want that to work itself through the system. We're not exposed to that, but we don't want to compete with that news flow. So once we're through that, you'll be seeing our PR on our seed round closing. We have a bunch of awesome investors involved in our seed round, and you'll be seeing some partnership announcements. You'll be seeing some influencers that we brought on that are, when you see who the influencers are, you'll say, oh man, this is the perfect person to be able to help us launch the platform. So I think we're coming up with a really nice launch here, and we're looking forward to interacting with you guys down the road.
You mentioned influencers. Now, I have a couple in mind that I'm aware of, which have done these box openings and so on. Won't name any, but really looking forward to seeing who they are. Maybe those that I'm thinking about. But but actually, you mentioned FUD and market condition, sentiment, so on. Maybe even these upcoming events that are taking place in real life in Lisbon, regarding the Solana ecosystem, Breakpoint, Hacker House, but then also beyond. That might be a good moment as well, a bit of an uplifting moment. Will you be attending those by any chance?
Oh, I totally forgot to even say I will be in Portugal from November 3rd through
Nice.
November 8th. And I will, certainly anybody who wants to meet with me, who wants to sit down and talk about cards or talk about Collector, or, just have a few drinks and pass the time, love to meet you. And, best way to probably get to me is through Twitter DM.
Nice. Yeah, I imagine there must be a couple of people in this chat attending, because I've just been hearing everyone talking about it. So maybe that's a real good moment to not only spread the word on your project, educate people, but obviously learn things about what else is happening in the ecosystem. On that note, I don't believe anyone has requested to speak. Marco, am I right in that? Are there any questions? I don't think so. We got the 100 logo. All right. In
Yeah,
that
yeah.
case,
No question for now
all
from the
right.
audience.
All right. In that case, fellas, it's been an absolute pleasure learning about Collector, hearing your thoughts, and definitely hooked to track the progress moving forward. You've definitely left us wanting to learn more, especially regarding what's to come with your marketing campaigns and some of the key collaborations you speak on or hint at regarding influencers. So certainly looking forward to tracking that. Where can we actually find you? What are your socials?
Yeah, thank you. My Twitter is at Twom Holmberg, so it's TUOMHOLMBERG. I'm here under the Collector Twitter account, so feel free to message our main Twitter account as well. And our website is Collector Crypt, spelled CRYPT.com, and you can have links to our Telegram, our Discord, and our Twitter there as well. And we monitor all of our socials. So however you'd like to reach us, please come in, and then certainly you can send us an email at info@collectorcrypt.com, and Mickey and I will both get that email. So you'll get straight to me through that.
Perfect. Thanks for sharing that. And actually, for those who have tuned in late and maybe are feeling a bit of the FOMO regarding the earlier part of the conversation that was missed, this is indeed going to be recorded, or is being recorded as we speak, and will be posted on our social media, Unique Venture Clubs, and Collector, I believe, will repost as well. And so you can check out the full conversation there. And yes, it's been a great other session on investing with friends with Unique Venture Clubs. Our guest Collector, super excited to see what's to come, and very much appreciate your time, both Tuam and Mickey.
Thanks for having us.
All right, have a good one.
Thanks. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye, all.
Thanks so much, everyone. Have a good day.